For as long as the galaxy could remember, Earth was silent. No beacons, no broadcasts, no fleets carving trails across the void. Just a pale blue world circling an ordinary yellow star, quiet, unassuming, almost invisible. In the archives of the Orion Council, the record for Sol 3 was marked primitive observation only. The Galactic Union's historians joked about it often. Humans, they said, the species that never spoke. But on the night the stars burned crimson over Earth's northern hemisphere, silence ended. It began with an accident, or what the humans would later call an awakening. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the heart of the luminous array, Earth's most powerful deep space transmitter, her eyes fixed on the monitor. For years she had sent radio whispers toward the stars, hoping someone, anyone, might whisper back. The console lights shimmered like fireflies across her face as she muttered, "Come on, just one sign." And then the static changed. It wasn't the random hiss of space. It was rhythm, deliberate, structured, undeniable. A message. Ilara froze. "It's not ours," she whispered. This is alien." Her colleague, David Rowan, leaned over. His voice trembled. "Run it through the linguistic filters. Maybe it's a code." The signal unfolded like music, harmonies layered in strange mathematical precision. Yet beneath it, something darker pulsed. Mockery. Primitive world detected. No response capability. Observation complete. The words were old, perhaps centuries old, but their tone was unmistakable. Arrogant. David swallowed hard. "They're laughing at us." Ilara stared at the transmission until her hands clenched into fists. For years, humanity had waited for a call, dreaming of wisdom, of friendship, of cosmic kinship, and what they received was derision. The entire planet listened that night as the decoded message spread across every news channel. The voice of the cosmos had finally reached Earth, and it was laughing. Governments convened emergency meetings. Scientists argued over authenticity. Some said it was a cruel prank, a trick of noise. Others said it was real, that humanity had finally been seen, only to be ridiculed. But what no one expected was what happened next. Across the world, humanity's heart caught fire. The laughter of the stars did not break them. It forged them. Factories reignited. The old divisions, language, nation, creed, blurred as the entire species united under a single vow: we will answer. In a hidden chamber beneath the UN complex, a project was born. Project Horizon. Its purpose was simple: reach the stars not with words but with presence. Ilara was chosen to lead it. "We may be small," she told the council, "but we are not voiceless. The universe mocked our silence. It will hear us soon enough." And so humanity began to build. The following decade was a blur of impossible progress. Nuclear propulsion gave way to fusion drives. Quantum engines leapt from theory to blueprints to reality. Orbital stations multiplied like constellations of steel. Children grew up dreaming of the stars not as unreachable lights, but as places waiting to be answered, and Ilara, tireless, sleepless, carried their dream like a flame in her chest. One night, standing before the towering hull of the first interstellar vessel, "The resolve," she whispered. "They thought we would stay quiet forever." They never knew what silence can become when it's broken. David joined her, his smile faint. "Do you think they'll hear us?" "Oh, they'll hear us," she said softly. "And they'll remember this day, the day humanity stopped waiting." The ship's engines hummed like thunder restrained. The dawn broke, gold and fierce, spilling light over the launch site. For the first time in human history, a ship stood ready to cross the interstellar gulf not with fear, but defiance. Humanity was about to speak in the only language the stars could never ignore: action. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of Sol's light, in the council of the Orion species, a faint signal blinked red. Earth transmission detected, interstellar launch imminent. The elder of the council, a being older than human civilization itself, leaned forward and hissed, "Impossible. They were not supposed to advance this far." No one answered. The chamber filled with uneasy silence, the same kind of silence Earth once held. But this time, silence no longer belonged to humanity. The day the resolve left Earth's atmosphere, the world held its breath. No music, no chatter, just a shared, reverent silence, the same silence that once defined humanity, now sharpened into purpose. Billions watched as the silver vessel ascended on wings of blue fire, piercing clouds like an arrow loosed at the heart of the stars. Ilara Voss stood at the command window of the control tower, eyes shimmering with the reflection of that radiant trail. Her voice trembled, not from fear but from awe. "After this moment," she whispered, "no one will ever call us silent again." The Resolve's crew was small, 5 souls, each chosen not for perfection, but for resilience. Captain Mira Solon, a pilot who had once flown disaster missions through burning skies. Engineer David Rowan, Ilara's steadfast friend. The mind that turned dreams into engines. Navigator Kenji Rao, quiet, analytical, with a memory that could trace star patterns blindfolded. Medical Officer Amara Lin, soft-spoken, unyielding in spirit, and historian Jonas Hale, a poet, chosen to remind them why they journeyed at all. Their mission, to cross the empty dark between stars and deliver Earth's answer, a message of existence, courage and defiance. First, the journey was peaceful. The hum of the quantum drives became their heartbeat, steady and reassuring. They drifted through the solar frontier, past Neptune's blue glow, and into the interstellar gulf where the sun was no more than a bright memory. But as days bled into weeks, something began to change. Kenji was the first to notice. "We're being scanned," he said, watching the faint pulses ripple across the ship's sensors. David frowned. "By what?" "Unknown. The signal matches no known frequency." Ilara's voice came through the calm but cold. "Keep tracking it. If they're watching, let them see what humanity can do." In a hidden corner of the galaxy, the Orion Council observed. Their ancient sensors confirmed what they feared. The Resolve had broken through the galactic frontier barrier, a technological feat that took their own ancestors millennia to master. "Impossible," muttered Archon Lithera, her scaled hands trembling. "Their species was primitive a century ago." "How?" The eldest of them, High Scholar Tenvar, closed his eyes. "Mockery breeds rebellion. We may have sown our own undoing." Back aboard the Resolve, the crew encountered their first obstacle, a gravitational storm swirling around a rogue planet. The field tore at the ship's hull like invisible claws. Systems flickered. The engines screamed. "Structural integrity down to 63%, shouted David. "Hold her steady," Mira barked, her hands gripping the controls as the ship bucked. For 3 hours they fought the storm. Every second felt like eternity. When the ship finally broke free, the crew sat in exhausted silence, the hum of the engines barely audible over their pounding hearts. Jonas exhaled and said quietly, "You realize back on Earth people will call this the moment humanity truly began." Mira gave a tired smile. "Maybe, but right now I just want to survive to tell them about it." When they finally emerged into calm space, they saw it, a glimmering structure drifting ahead, vast and ancient. It was no natural formation. It was a station, shaped like a blooming star radiating faint golden light. Kenji's breath caught. "It's alien." Amara's eyes widened. "Are we the first humans to see another civilization's work?" David's hands trembled as he powered down the engines. "If the message we heard came from them, then yes." The station pulsed once in a deep, rhythmic glow. "A signal," Jonas whispered. "They're answering us." Ilara's voice came through the intercom, steady but fierce. "Open the channel." The transmission came through as a voice, deep, resonant, almost musical. "You have crossed the boundary of your kind. This sector is forbidden to primitives." "Turn back," Mira straightened. "This is Captain Mira Solon of the human vessel Resolve. We come in peace." "Peace?" The voice echoed with disdain. "Your world is an echo of dust. You are not permitted to rise," Jonas muttered under his breath. The same arrogance, the same mockery. Mira's hands trembled slightly, but her voice didn't. "We didn't come to ask permission. We came to answer." "Answer?" the voice hissed. "To what?" "To the laughter," Mira said. "We heard it. The galaxy mocked our silence. But we've learned something since then." She leaned forward, her words like steel. "Silence is not weakness. It's the breath before the roar." For a long moment, nothing happened. The stars themselves seemed to pause. Then the station's glow dimmed, The voice vanished. Kenji turned. Did they shut us out? Alara's voice came over comms, trembling with quiet pride. No. They heard us. In the next second, the station sent a burst of light, a signal broadcast across multiple systems. Within hours, the Orion Council's sensors lit up again. A single message repeated through the stars, encoded in a language the universe had long dismissed. Earth speaks. For the first time in galactic history, a world once mocked now stood noticed, and far across the void, ancient empires stirred uneasily in their sleep. Whispering among themselves, the silent world has learned to roar. Across the spiral arms of the Milky Way, whispers spread like wildfire, a primitive world, one long dismissed, ignored and ridiculed and had spoken. Earth speaks. 2 simple words, but they struck the galaxy like a bell, reverberating through empires and alliances, shaking the complacency of ancient powers. The Orion Council called an emergency assembly, their great citadel shining cold above the dying sun of Althara Prime. Representatives from 50 species gathered beneath the vaulted chamber, each one murmuring with disbelief. Archon Lithera, her silver scales glinting under the lights, rose to speak. The humans have breached the frontier barrier, she declared. They have achieved quantum propulsion. They've contacted the Sentinel station uninvited. We must decide now how to respond. The chamber erupted in noise. Some called for diplomacy, others for annihilation. High Scholar Tenvar lifted a trembling claw. Before we act, remember this. We mocked them. We called them voiceless. Perhaps we should listen before we strike. But the younger members hissed in dissent. They are dangerous, ambitious, reckless. They will spread like flame. Lithera's eyes narrowed. Then perhaps we should extinguish them before they burn the galaxy. Back aboard the Resolve, the crew was unaware of the storm their words had unleashed. The alien station ahead had gone dark. No more lights, no more signals. It floated silently in the void, like an ancient witness gone to sleep. Inside the ship, tension coiled like wire. Kenji sat at his console, analyzing data. They're not responding to anything, he murmured. It's as if they just stopped existing. Jonas leaned back in his chair, staring at the distant glow. Maybe we scared them. Mira gave a small, humorless laugh. We 5 humans in a tin can? I doubt it, David frowned. Don't underestimate the ripple we've caused, Captain. When a small thing makes a big sound, even giants listen. Ilara's voice came over calm, steady but tight with fatigue. You've done what no human has ever done. Whatever comes next, you've already changed everything. On Earth, people celebrated. The signal, Earth Speaks, one was now a global anthem. Cities glowed brighter, scientists worked faster, and children learned new constellations by name. But not everyone rejoiced. In the silence of the command bunker beneath Geneva, military advisors whispered grimly. If they can hear us, they can find us, said General Harlan. And if they mocked us once, they might return to finish the joke. Ilara faced the War Council with tired eyes. If they come, we'll meet them as one world, not as prey. Her words carried no arrogance, only resolve. For the first time in history, humanity was united by something larger than fear. In the Orion Council, fear took another shape. An intercepted report from the Sentinel station confirmed it. Humans had spoken boldly, without submission. They had declared equality, not servitude. It was unheard of. Archon Lithera's voice cut through the chamber like frost. We must remind them of their place. Send the Vanguard fleet. A single display of power will silence their defiance. But Tenvar rose slowly, his ancient form trembling with quiet fury. No, you cannot silence what has already learned to roar. If you strike them now, you will awaken something you cannot control. Old fool, hissed Lithera. They are insects. Tenvar turned his gaze toward the stars shimmering through the skylight. Then remember what happens when enough insects swarm. Even giants fall. Meanwhile, in the dark between systems, the Resolve continued its journey. Days passed. Then one night, Amaralyn awoke to a strange vibration through the hull. A deep, distant rhythm, almost like footsteps. She ran to the bridge. Captain, we've got movement, fast. Kenji's hands danced over the console. Multiple signatures. They're surrounding us. A moment later, light filled the viewport. Ships, vast, curved, and silver, emerged from the void, their forms graceful as predators. Mira's throat tightened. First contact. And they brought an army. The largest ship transmitted a message, its voice low and resonant. Humans of Earth, you have trespassed beyond your bounds. Stand down and prepare for inspection. Alara's voice crackled through the comm, distant but fierce. Mira, hold your position. Don't let them take control. Mira's heart pounded. We're outnumbered, outgunned. What do you want us to do, Alara? Her answer came calm, steady, and unflinching. Remind them why we came. The Orion Vanguard's lead ship fired a beam of blue energy, not to destroy but to intimidate. It passed dangerously close to the Resolve, shaking it violently. Jonas shouted, "They're trying to scare us." Mira's hands tightened on the controls. Then they're about to learn what fear really feels like. David looked at her in disbelief. Mira, don't... But it was too late. The Resolve's engines flared white. The ship twisted sharply, dodging another beam, and fired a single burst from its plasma core. A bright, defiant flash that split through the void like lightning. It struck the nearest alien craft and disabled it instantly. Silence followed. Total breathless silence, Kenji whispered. Did we just hit them? Mira's voice was quiet but unshaken. No, we answered. In the Orion Council chamber, alarms flared. Reports streamed in. Human vessel engaged. Orion ship disabled. Archon Lithra rose in fury. They dare to strike us? Tenvar only whispered, voice like the rustle of old parchment. No, they dared to defend themselves. He turned to the glowing map of the Milky Way, where one small blue world pulsed brighter than ever before. The universe mocked Earth's silence, he murmured. Now it will learn what defiance sounds like. The first shot fired by the Resolve echoed far beyond its target. In the silent dark between stars, it became more than light, it became legend. Across human history, every great moment had begun with defiance. The first spark of fire, the first sail lifted against the wind, the first voice raised against tyranny, and now, the first strike against the arrogance of the cosmos. But the galaxy did not take humiliation kindly. The Orion Vanguard's response was swift and merciless. From the depths of hyperspace, their fleet descended like a storm of silver blades. Dozens of ships surrounded the Resolve, their weapons glowing with restrained fury. Captain Mira Solon stood at the helm, her reflection framed by the starlit chaos. Her voice was calm, almost eerily so. Status? David's fingers flew over the controls. Shields at 40%. We can't take another hit like that. They're not trying to destroy us, they're testing us. Then let's show them we're not a test they can pass, Mira said. Kenji looked up, eyes wide. Mira, that's suicide. Her lips tightened. No, it's proof. The Orion commander's voice boomed through the comms. Human vessel, your aggression confirms your primitiveness. Cease movement and prepare for dismantlement. Mira's jaw flexed. Not today. You cannot win this. Winning was never the goal, she said. But surviving, that's something we're very good at. Then she gave the command that would mark her name in galactic history. Activate the solar core. David's eyes widened. You're not serious, Mira. The prototype isn't stable. Neither is freedom, she said. The ship's reactor glowed brighter and brighter until light poured through every seam of the hull. Energy surged, trembling at the edge of catastrophe. And then silence. For one breathless moment, the Resolve vanished. And at the Orion Council, the fleet feed went dark. Every monitor flickered. Every reading vanished. What happened? Demanded Archon Lithra. A trembling officer replied. The human vessel. It disappeared. Destroyed? No, Archon, just gone. Tenvar leaned forward, his ancient eyes gleaming with something between fear and wonder. They jumped, Lithra hissed. Impossible. They do not have jump drive capability. But Tenvar only whispered, and yet they do. When the Resolve reappeared, it was thousands of light years away, adrift near a red giant star, its hull scarred but intact. The crew lay in stunned silence as systems flickered back to life. David's voice cracked. We jumped through hyperspace, with a reactor meant for orbital propulsion. Mira exhaled slowly, staring at the swirling red light outside. And we're still alive. Amara laughed weakly, tears glistening in her eyes. Do you know what this means? Jonas smiled, the poet in him unable to resist. It means humanity just learned to fall through the universe and land on its feet. Meanwhile, in the shadow of that same red star, something ancient stirred. A derelict vessel, vast and skeletal, floated among the debris field. Its design was unlike anything in Orion records. Kenji's sensors caught it first. Captain, I'm detecting power signatures. Faint but alive. It's not Orion, it's older. Mira frowned. How much older? Kenji hesitated. Pre-Council era. Maybe millions of years. Alara's voice, patched through from Earth, came faint and distant. A precursor civilization? David's voice dropped to a whisper. If that's true, this could change everything we know about the galaxy. Mira's gaze hardened. Then we're going in. Inside the derelict, time itself seemed to hold its breath. Dim golden light shimmered across vast halls filled with strange runes and crystalline structures. The air, if it could be called that, vibrated faintly like the aftersound of a note struck eons ago. Jonas ran his fingers along a wall etched with symbols. They built this before humanity learned to walk upright. Amara shivered. Why is it still here? Kenji adjusted his scanner. Maybe it's waiting for something. Mira turned slowly, her eyes narrowing. Or someone. Then the runes on the wall began to glow. A holographic figure appeared, tall, graceful, luminous. Its voice was soft, like wind over glass. Children of the young world. You have come far. The crew froze. Mira managed. Who are you? A memory. The last echo of the Ardent. We watched the rise of the Orion. We saw the galaxy fall silent in fear. But now, a new voice rises. Ilara's voice crackled through, barely audible. Are you saying you've been waiting for us? Not for you. For any who dared to defy. The light pulsed brighter, washing over them. Take what we left behind. And speak so the stars remember. Then the hologram dissolved, and the derelict's core flared alive. Kenji gasped. Captain, readings are off the charts. It's rewriting our systems. David's eyes widened as code streamed across his console. Our ship, the Resolve, it's integrating alien technology. IBR bound down back on Earth. The stars flickered in the night sky, forming strange new constellations. Observatories recorded a pulse, an impossible repeating wave traveling faster than light. Ilara stood in the control room, staring at the data through tears. They found something, she whispered. Something older than the Orion. Something that wanted us to find it. General Harlan stepped beside her. Do you think it's a weapon? Ilara smiled faintly. No, it's an inheritance. When the Resolve emerged from the derelict's shadow, its engines burned brighter than ever. It moved like a living thing now, fluid, silent, and radiant with newfound power. Jonas stared out the viewport, awed. We came here to answer mockery, and instead we found a legacy. Mira's voice was quiet but resolute. Then let's use it well. The universe may not believe in us yet, but it will. And as the ship vanished once more into the dark, its engines left behind a trail of light that shimmered for hours, a streak of defiance, hope, and destiny. Far away, in the Orion Council's grand chamber, Tenvar watched the data feed in silence. The readings from the derelict had reached them, and with it the truth. The humans, he said softly, have awoken something long asleep. Lithera's voice trembled. What have they done? Tenvar closed his eyes. They've reminded the stars how to dream. The first transmission from the Resolve after the derelict encounter shook every monitoring station on Earth. It wasn't words. It was resonance. A low melodic hum that seemed to bypass logic and speak directly to emotion. It vibrated through the planet's magnetic field, stirring tides, causing auroras that danced brighter than ever before. And within the hum, data unfolded, patterns, schematics, and blueprints so far beyond comprehension that humanity's brightest minds wept from awe. Dr. Ilara Voss stood in the heart of the luminous array, her trembling fingers tracing the lines of alien code on the holoscreen. It's a system of harmony, she whispered, a fusion of energy and consciousness. They didn't just build ships, they built living vessels. David's voice came through the long-distance relay, tired but proud. Whatever this technology is, it chose us. Ilara smiled faintly through her tears. Then we'll prove we were worthy of being chosen. Meanwhile, the galaxy trembled. The Orion Council's internal network pulsed with alarm as intercepted data confirmed human possession of Ardent relic technology. Ancient records described the Ardent as creators, beings who once sculpted worlds and vanished beyond the galactic rim. Archon Lithera stared at the star map, where Sol now glowed brighter than ever. This cannot be allowed. The balance will collapse. Tenvar, ever calm, whispered. Perhaps the balance needed to fall. Lithera turned sharply. You sympathize with them. I understand them, the old scholar said softly. For millions of years our kind ruled in certainty. Humanity walks into uncertainty and calls it hope. Tell me, Archon, which is the greater strength? Her silence was her only answer. As the resolve traveled deeper into uncharted space, the crew began to realize the Ardent relic had changed not only their ship, but themselves. Kenji's neural interface could now predict stellar drift in real time. Amara could sense electromagnetic patterns like intuition. David's engineering console responded to thought as much as touch. Jonas began hearing whispers, not words, but emotions echoing through the hull, as if the ship itself had learned to feel. One night, Mira found him on the observation deck staring at the nebula outside. You're quiet, she said gently. Jonas smiled faintly. I'm listening. To what? He tilted his head. To us, to everything. The ship hums when we're calm, grows silent when we doubt. It's alive, Mira, and it believes in us, her breath caught. For the first time she truly felt it. The gentle pulse beneath her feet. Like the heartbeat of some vast companion sharing their journey. Far across the void, not all who listened were hostile. The Telyar Confederacy, a small, peace-seeking race long overshadowed by the Orion, watched the humans with fascination. Ambassador Reen, their crystalline skin catching starlight, addressed her council. They defied the Orion without seeking war. They inherited ancient power and have not yet abused it. Perhaps it is time the galaxy remembered what courage looks like. Others murmured cautiously, if we aid them, the Orion will strike. Reen's eyes glowed softly. If we do nothing, we remain slaves to fear. The humans are showing us how to be brave again. And so quietly, the first whispers of alliance began. Species tired of stagnation, drawn by the spark of a world that once had no voice. Back aboard the Resolve, Mira convened her crew in the central chamber. Earth has received our data, she said. They've begun constructing sister ships using the Ardent blueprints. Humanity's first fleet is coming. David exhaled a shaky laugh. From silence to a fleet. Not bad for a species that once barely left its moon. Amara smiled. We were mocked for our stillness, but stillness was how we learned to listen. Jonas added softly. And now the stars are listening to us. Mira looked at them all, pride and weight mingling in her voice. We've changed the story, but we're not done yet. The Orion won't stay idle. Kenji nodded grimly. We've seen their power, but they haven't yet seen our spirit. On Earth, new ships rose into orbit, their hulls sleek and radiant, vessels that sang rather than roared. The people named them after virtues, courage, mercy, unity, and hope. Each ship's departure was a celebration of defiance and faith. The blue planet that once whispered now glowed with purpose, a beacon in the dark. Alara Voss watched them ascend, her voice quiet. We used to fear being alone in the universe, she said. Now the universe fears what we can become. In the Orion Council's war chamber, the decision was made. Archon Lithera's voice cut like steel. Deploy the Dominion Armada. Earth will be contained before its infection spreads. But Tenvar stood, ancient and resolute. Contain them and you will doom us all. They have found what we lost, the will to wonder. Lithera turned cold eyes on him. Then you are a traitor to the Council. He smiled faintly. No. I am loyal to the truth. And before the guards could reach him, he vanished, his form dissolving into a beam of golden light. Lithera froze. How? Her answer came through the air like an echo from another age. The Ardent left more than relics, Archon. They left choices. Moments later, across human and alien frequencies alike, a new signal emerged, one not sent by Earth nor Orion. A voice ageless and warm, rippled through every listening ear. The time of silence is over. The galaxy has forgotten what it means to rise. Humanity remembers. On the bridge of the Resolve, Mira lifted her gaze toward the stars. "Whoever you are," she whispered, "we're ready." The ship pulsed in answer, a low, steady heartbeat that merged with the hum of the cosmos itself. And far beyond sight, the Orion Armada began to move. The sky above Earth burned gold. At first, people thought it was dawn, a strange, radiant sunrise that stretched too wide, too bright. But soon the light split into hundreds of glimmers, and those glimmers became ships. The Orion Dominion Armada had arrived. From orbit, their fleets blanketed the heavens, silver giants that eclipsed the sun. The Council had come not to talk, but to silence the world they once mocked. In the underground command center of the United Earth Alliance, alarms screamed, "Multiple entries in low orbit," cried a technician. "They've surrounded the planet." Ilara Voss stood at the central console, calm despite the chaos. "Are our defenses ready?" General Harlan's voice was steady but grim. "The fleet's mobilizing. Courage, unity, hope, and resolve are taking position. We're outnumbered 100 to 1. Ilara's gaze didn't waver. "Numbers don't decide destiny, General. Belief does." Above them, the human fleet rose like sparks from a forge. The Resolve, still bearing the Ardent's luminous mark, took the lead. On its bridge, Captain Mira Solon watched the horizon bloom with fire. "So this is how it begins," she murmured. David adjusted the controls, his voice tight. "If we survive this, it'll be a miracle." Mira smiled faintly. "Then let's become one." The first wave of Orion ships advanced, elegant, precise and merciless. "Targets locked," said Kenji. Mira exhaled, the weight of all humanity pressing behind her next words. "Fire." The stars ignited. Plasma lances cut through space, painting the void in blue and white. Human ships moved like dancers, weaving through impossible odds with the grace of desperation. Each vessel carried not just weapons, but purpose. Their ardent cores sang, pure harmonic frequencies that bent energy itself, deflecting and distorting the enemy's fire. On the Unity, Admiral Rafe shouted through the comms, "They can't hit us. It's like our ships know where to move." Ilara's voice echoed through every channel. "The Ardent technology doesn't fight for you. It fights with you." Trust it, and they did. The battle became music. The hum of engines, the rhythm of courage, the crescendo of light. But the Orion were no fools. Their capital ship, the Ascendant Wrath, entered the fray, a leviathan dwarfing anything humanity had ever built. From its core, an energy weapon charged, bright as a newborn star. "Captain," Kenji cried. "They're preparing a planetary strike." David's hands flew across controls. "We can't intercept it in time." Mira's eyes hardened. "Then we go to them?" Amara's breath caught. "You mean?" "Yes," Mira said. "Head on." As the Resolve surged forward, its engines burned white, the same unstable energy that once hurled it across the galaxy. "Everyone brace," Mira shouted. The Orion commander's voice crackled through the comms. "You cannot stop inevitability." Mira answered softly, "We don't stop inevitability. We redefine it." And the Resolve met the Orion beam head-on. For an instant, light consumed everything, beyond the stars, the sky, the ground below. On Earth, people looked up in horror as a radiant sphere formed in orbit. For one long heartbeat, it seemed the end had come. But then the sphere collapsed, folding inward, rippling with impossible geometry, and vanished. Silence followed. Then came the signal. "We're still here," Mira's voice whispered through static. The ardent core absorbed the energy. We just turned it back. On every screen, a single image appeared. The Orion capital ship, its hull fractured, its own weapons energy now devouring it from within. The galaxy had witnessed something unthinkable. Humanity deflecting the fire of gods. Yet victory was not triumph. The Resolve drifted, its systems fading. The jump core flickered erratically and Mira's voice trembled. "We've lost power. The core's unstable. We can't hold much longer." David turned to her, face pale. "If it detonates, it could wipe out half the sector." She nodded slowly. "Then we take it away from here." He realized her intent. "No, Mira, you can't," but her smile was calm. Someone has to. Tell them Earth survived. Tell them we kept our promise. With trembling hands, Mira set the coordinates, a remote, empty region of space far beyond charted reach. She turned one last time to her crew. It was an honor. Kenji's eyes brimmed with tears. Captain, go, she said gently. Live for what comes next. The crew was teleported to Unity seconds before the Resolve jumped. In the black of space, the ship vanished, leaving only a fading echo of light. Moments later, a blinding flare bloomed on the outer edge of the galaxy, silent but vast, like a final heartbeat that refused to die quietly. Back on Earth, the transmission ended. Alara stood unmoving, tears glistening as she whispered, "She saved us all." David's broken voice came through the line. "She didn't just save us, Alara. She gave us the future." In the Orion Council chamber, chaos reigned. The fleet was in retreat. The Dominion Armada fractured. Archon Lithera screamed, "How did they do this?" No one answered. Then a calm voice, Tenvar's, echoed through the hall though his body was gone. They remembered what we forgot, that the smallest voice, when spoken with truth, can silence empires. Lithera sank to her knees, her reflection trembling in the shattered floor. What have we unleashed? Not destruction, Tenvar's voice whispered. Awakening. Across the galaxy, the legend of the Resolve spread like wildfire. Species that once cowered beneath Orion rule began to rise. Trade worlds whispered Earth's name as a prayer. And in the quiet between stars, the Ardent's old beacons stirred once more, as if waiting for the species who dared to roar into eternity. And deep within that distant, glowing nebula, the place where the Resolve vanished, light flickered again. A heartbeat. Faint. Alive. Mira's voice, soft but unwavering, whispered through the void, "We're not done yet." For a long time after the battle, the galaxy knew peace, not because fear had won, but because wonder had returned. The Orion fleets retreated beyond their borders. Worlds once bowed under their rule raised their banners again. Across the stars, a single name became legend: Earth. Children of alien worlds whispered it like a song, their teachers reciting tales of the small blue planet that spoke against empires and made the universe listen. But on Earth itself, grief and pride walked hand in hand. Dr. Alara Voss stood before the memorial wall in the United Earth Hall of Dawn, where the names of those lost in the great battle shimmered softly under the light of 1,000 candles. At the top of the list glowed one name brighter than all. Captain Mira Selena Lara reached out and touched the engraving. "You said silence wasn't weakness," she whispered. "You were right. You turned it into our greatest weapon." The years passed. Humanity grew, not into conquerors but into builders. The ardent technology spread not through domination but through unity. Every major power, human and alien alike, contributed to what became known as the Concord of Voices, an alliance founded on a single principle: no world too small to be heard. The conquered ships traveled where no fleets had dared before, carrying medicine, art, and light instead of weapons. Even the Orion, their pride shattered and tempered, joined in time, led not by Archon Lithera, who vanished into exile, but by her successor, a reformed council under the guidance of Tenvar's recorded wisdom. The galaxy changed, quietly, beautifully. And yet, the question remained: what happened to the Resolve? Alara never stopped searching. For 2 decades she studied every anomaly, every flicker of impossible energy beyond the galactic rim. Then one day her monitors lit with a signal, faint, rhythmic, and achingly familiar. A heartbeat. Her breath caught. "No, it can't be." She replayed it again and again. The same gentle pulse, the same pattern. The ship's signature. The Resolve was still alive. The Concord's fleet prepared an expedition, commanded by Admiral David Rowan, older now, his once youthful eyes lined with the quiet strength of loss and remembrance. He stood on the Bridge of Unity, the sister ship Mira once saved, as the jump drive powered up. "Course set," said Kenji Rao, older but smiling. "Destination. Coordinates of the heartbeat. Amara Lynn, her silver hair gleaming under the lights, placed a hand on his shoulder. Do you think she's really out there? David looked out into the endless dark. If anyone could survive the void, it's Mira. The engines flared, and once again, humanity leapt into the unknown. They found her near the edge of a dying nebula, half hidden in luminous dust. The Resolve drifted silently, her hull cracked but glowing faintly with inner light. Strange vines of golden energy pulsed along her frame, ardent patterns alive and breathing. When Unity approached, sensors flickered erratically. Energy readings off the charts, Kenji murmured. It's like the ship's dreaming, David's voice softened. Mira? Then through the static came a whisper, but you made it. Every soul aboard froze. Amara's eyes filled with tears. It's her, the transmission continued, faint but warm. I'm not what I was. The ardent core rebuilt me, merged me with it. I see the galaxy differently now. It's alive, singing. David swallowed hard. We can bring you home. Home? She laughed gently. I am home. The ship and I, we're one now. Don't mourn me, listen. Then came the sound. Not words, but harmony. A soft, rising chorus that filled every ship, every comm channel, every heart. It wasn't music in any language. It was understanding. Stars pulsed in rhythm. Nebulae shimmered in color. Space itself seemed to hum in answer. Mira's voice returned, strong and clear. The ardent never left. They became this, the energy between stars, the memory that binds creation. And now we're part of it too, David whispered. You've become the voice of the universe. Not me, she said gently. When the fleet returned, they brought no relics, no trophies. Only the message that Mira had left them. That silence was never emptiness. It was potential, the waiting breath before all creation speaks. Humanity finally understood that their long, quiet age had been necessary, because only those who knew true silence could create a roar that would echo forever. As generations passed, the stars themselves seemed to remember the shape of Earth's courage. When new worlds joined the conquered, they learned the story first. Not of conquest, but of awakening. Children would look to the sky and say, that's where the humans taught the universe to listen. And somewhere, among those stars, a soft hum would rise, faint, endless, alive, the Resolve. Still flying, still singing. In the final archives of the Orion Council, beneath Tenvar's preserved teachings, an inscription glows in every language known to the galaxy. They mocked the quiet world. They laughed at its stillness. But when Earth found its voice, the universe fell silent. To listen,